I didn't watch Degrassi at the time either. So I remember people when I was telling people I'm like an actor, they're like, what if you got on Degrassi? And I was like, what if I knew what that was? And yeah, it was everything I had dreamed a set would be like. I remember my first days there. That's what taught me what, a director, who's the director, who are the producers, who are the writers, who are everybody on set, who are, you know what I mean? The camera people, the grips, all this stuff really taught me what, being on a set is, what sort of like gave me an idea of what this job was like, gave me my sort of a bit of my hustle, because on a show like that, I think one of my things is unfortunately like comparing myself to other people and being like, how come I don't do this, or how come I don't have that? And, as much as that gave me a bit of grief, it reminded me what my drive was like. I want to be there, so I'm going to do the work.
Hey there, welcome back to the DNA podcast, where we find out what artists are made of. I am your host, Douglas Nyback. Today we have an incredible guest. His name is Dalmar Abuzeid, one of the stars of Degrassi: The Next Generation, as well as Anne with an E, as well as like a whole host of other credits across an already long and illustrious career. I've been wanting to chat with Dal for a long time. I've known him through the industry for a long time. He's helped me develop some scripts, been a part of table reads. He's so highly intelligent, and everything that he does is well thought out. You can tell he's somebody that cares deeply about what he does. And speaking with him, I found myself constantly evaluating and reevaluating how I related to what he said, because it's a real actor's podcast today, and he's a real actor's actor in a really beautiful way. In watching this, if you're an actor, you're going to grow a lot in this podcast. And if you're a fan of Dal, you're going to love it, because you're going to get to know him better and get to know the work that he does better. I'm excited about this one, and I'll let the podcast speak for itself, because sometimes I think I talk too long in these intros. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're on Spotify and Apple, please subscribe and rate us 5 stars. Liking, commenting, sharing, checking out our socials at DNYbackAct across Instagram and TikTok. So thank you so much for being here. And without further ado, let's get into this conversation with Dalmar. Let's just get into it. Dalmar, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me.
One of my favorite things about having this podcast, I haven't worked with you like client, actor really much at all, but when that doesn't when I haven't worked with an actor, I always do like a bit of a deep dive into like their work. And it's so cool to have seen some of your stuff, because I've had all this respect for you for years, but I'm like, have I ever really watched much of Dal's stuff? I just like respect this dude. And there is I have this like idea of who you are as a person. I think everybody carries stories, right? With who I'm sure you have an idea of who you think I am. And I was like, I feel like Dal is this compassionate, present person who is just profoundly good at providing space for people. And then I watched your acting work, and like there was this part of me that was like, I really hope his acting work is like that. And then it fucking was, which is great. And I was like, this is nice. And I feel like there's just this like openness and willingness. I was watching some of your stuff from Anne with an E, and this character who I felt like was almost riding this line of internal conflict at all times, and yet somehow within that was deeply invested in like his connection with other people. And I was like, this guy's really fucking good at acting. And then I was like, oh, we want a CSA for it. Of course he is. But I was like, I was just a fan.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. That's yeah, it means a lot, and I'm glad that my work holds up and people can see that I'm a nice guy through the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely does. And I'm curious. I mean, I'm always interested in talking with actors, and it's funny, like over the years, you and I have like kind of helped each other out. Like you've come and done readings, like even though you don't know me well, and like I've been able to help with some visa stuff for you, and like the complicated world of actors working in the States, and it's like it's so rare to me that I just kind of like don't really know a guy, but then I'm just like so willing to be like, I just think that like if I can facilitate good things for this dude, and it seems like vice versa. And I'm curious, like that concept of generosity, that concept of like being present with other actors, and the way that I observed this was you like really giving space to them in your scenes. I'm like, how did this evolve? Because you started as like a Degrassi kid. Have you always been like so present and so available?
Well, I'm glad that it seems that way. I think that I have a mind that kind of runs and, can kind of work against me at times, I think, like most people, and especially that's these days, like what I think, struggle with, and struggle, not a bad thing, but it's just something that I keep coming back to. I'm like, man, I got to stop thinking myself out of things, but I think that when I'm with other people, maybe I just kind of, realize that we're together doing this thing. I think that's just how I was raised and how I enjoy, how I experience being with other people, working with other people. I think, because that's how I got into, like, when I discovered like acting was a thing, I was like, this is great. This works for me, and I think also being on Degrassi definitely played a role in like how, I show up in the work, and how I was introduced to like this industry.
Right.
Before I could really understand how it all made sense, it was just this almost like sacred thing. We're on a set, they say rolling, everybody goes quiet, and we're part of something, we're doing something. Maybe that, is still present whenever I do things, whenever I show up on screen. So I'm just glad that I want to, those all sound like things that I'm proud that people feel that way with me. I wouldn't want someone to feel like I'm, not there to work together and have a good experience.
Right. That makes sense. I'm curious, like I would love to talk about like how you got started, but I want to flag on something that you said there, that like a concept of overthinking. Mm-hmm. Like, and you said, and I'm paraphrasing you, but like, especially right now, that's something that you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, really interested, because I work with actors who are like intermediate. I don't work with as many beginner actors anymore, but intermediate and advanced. And I think overthinking is like the universal across all. Like we're just often thinking about different things. And I'm curious for you, like what do you mean by that? Like, how does that factor into your world?
I think that, there's a lot of like how I show up, how I'm being perceived with what I do. And
like, meaning these things matter to you?
Yeah, they do. They matter to me, like, how I show up, and also, what do I need to do to continue in this field? You know what I mean? Like, because it's obviously a challenging thing, and you've got to, everyone runs into like, hurdles and things like that. I think that I just want to continue to grow, and want to continue to experience new things. And I think that, thinking has always been how I kind of make my way through this industry. And, and sometimes I got to remember to just breathe, and, and not kind of, because like, your thoughts are important. Your thoughts are kind of, if you're thinking if you're thinking too much, then, sometimes like those thoughts become true in a sense. Sure. You know what I'm saying? And so.
Are you talking about like negative self-thought?
Yeah, negative self-thoughts. Exactly. I think that that's something that I deal with a lot. And sometimes when I'm on set, it's like an experience, it's like an opportunity to kind of quiet those, which is nice.
Right.
But that just comes with this job, I think.
Yeah, I find, like I can obviously relate to the negative self-thought stuff. I think almost every actor can, like, even The Rock is like, I can't lose a fight. It's part of my contract. It's like, really, you're that fucking concerned about optics? Like at that level, at like $30 million a picture going into your bank account, and you're like that concerned about optics? But like, we all are. Of course we are. The cameras are pointed at us. And I think there's like a weird, like, of the actors that really do it, like really get into it, really create careers out of it, it requires such a level of perseverance and a level of resolve in the face of catastrophic rejection, in a way that like we'll be rejected more in a year than the average person will be rejected in their entire life. And I think that there's like a weird cocktail of dysfunction that allows us to be capable of all of that. And I think deeply caring what other people think of us, I think for better or worse, is one of those things that causes us to be able to fucking endure. Mm-hmm. And I don't know exactly how that cocktail is mixed, and I think every actor is different, but it's like I find that concept of overthinking, the more that I work with actors. I was just doing a coaching session like last night. I'm working with this woman who is on like a really, really high profile show and working at a very elite level, like an HBO series. And that concept of overthinking like is still coming up. And it's like such a superpower too, because it means that she's thinking about everything, which is a part of our job. But it's like a nuclear bomb. Like you only want to use it when you really need to use it. And I think I get caught in this trap of like, maybe if I just nuke everything, and then
just don't stop, just no off switch.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Yeah,
it's not the best.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta rest. You gotta take care of yourself. That's what I'm, prioritizing these days.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that. Was that a lesson that you learned like the hard way, or was it a lesson that has come? You just paid attention to the right podcast at the right time, and you were like, I should chill.
Yeah, I should relax. Otherwise, this is gonna get worse. I think that's how I made sense of it.
Okay, cool. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What got you into this whole thing? Like, when did you like?
Yeah, so I started acting when I was. Like I was always trying to make people laugh and be, have eyes on me, and I just didn't know that you could do that.
For money.
Yeah, for money. Like I was like, well, oh, this is, because I was 11 and my cousin, I was at his house and he showed me a commercial and he was like, hey, that's me. And I was like, that's you on a boat. That's cool. When did you do that?
Right.
And he was like, I don't know. Here's the paycheck. And I was like, oh, sign me up.
Yeah.
Let me try this. No idea like what was involved. I was like, this just makes so much sense. I will do the imagining. I can just give me the scene. I remember how confident I was going into auditions, and it was a good fit for me. And I think I grew up, like as I was growing up, I started to realize that this idea of like perseverance, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
And that definitely was a learning experience for me. I think I'm really grateful for my mom, who at the time when I was like starting to like lose a little bit of steam. I mean, I was 11, I was 12, and I hadn't, I'd gone on auditions, I had done this experience, and I wasn't seeing like, nobody was calling me. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm not meant, like maybe I just don't know how to do this. I don't know, I'm not having fun.
Right. And this is you at 12.
This is me at 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather go play outside. And mom was like, well, I think you have to, keep at it. I think you've got to keep working and don't lose faith. And she was, I guess I listened, because a year after that was when I got my first gigs. I got a gig on like a commercial and then another commercial. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And it was then it brought it all back. I was like, oh yeah, I love this. This is what I was, why I started doing this. So that was kind of my intro, sort of, commercials, my cousin doing it and me wanting to, because he also was a big inspiration in my life at that time. He was like the funniest guy that I knew. He could like light up a room. He was the man. And I was like, okay, so let me do what you do. Right. And I'll be like that. So I did, and I just always kept enjoying it. It was sort of like a hobby, Yeah. I'd do my school, do my life, and then I would come back to it. And I think it was like when I was in high school that I started to have these like decisions of like, okay, well, are you going to continue to do this now? And it just, I did a lot of things when I was younger. Like, thankfully, mom put me in a lot of activities. And by the time I got into high school, I was always busy, always doing a lot of things. And then I realized like, oh, but I don't want to stop doing this acting thing. Something about it just kind of felt like a part of me. Mm-hmm. And so I continued, and I became much more like serious about it, passionate about it. And, it took me to today. I've never kind of looked back as far as like, what if there was something else? I just kind of have always felt like this aligned with me.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's like, to feel as though there's not much internal conflict in that is probably pretty great. I remember like when I went to theater school, like I got to New York and was doing like my starving artist days there, going to musical theater school. But I would spend a lot of my time around like the Fordham campus, because I almost went to law school, or like, well, the track to law school, and I remember being like, kind of deeply longing for a more traditional experience early on, and then
Early on when you were in New York,
yeah, when I was like 18, 19.
like something solid and
Yeah.
I say that like I've never been like it's always felt aligned, but I've constantly been looking like, what if I had a job? You know, like what if I had a regular job and I had that answer for all the people in my life who were like, so what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, because they're but so all this to say,
isn't it so funny how like, because I have this happen as well, like, and it'll especially be with like family and all this stuff, and I'm from a small town, and so like my family, like the extended family, everybody is extremely supportive, and yet also there's this real like what have you done for me lately thing that I think like accountants don't have to deal with. Like if I was an accountant, I'd show up at like Christmas one year, and then a decade later I'd be like still an accountant, and they'd be like cool. But if I'm like an actor and I'm not on a show, they're like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. How many people do you fucking know who are on TV like regularly? Like, what is enough? Does Tom Cruise deal with this shit when he does a year where the movie doesn't come out?
Yeah.
Like, shows up at Tom Cruise Thanksgiving and everyone's like, you haven't jumped out of a plane lately. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Does he do? Oh, because if he does, then there's I don't know what hope there is for us.
Yeah, it's so funny, but that I for a long time I had that like urge of conventionality, like
always.
But I just don't know. I think I'm so close to being maybe hardwired to enjoy that life because I love structure. Mm-hmm. But I think it would probably have made me deeply unhappy.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that I would enjoy it for a time and then I would come back to this.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, I give a lot of credit to people who really do put a stop to something and go and give themselves a shot with something else.
Yep.
I think there's a part of me also that like, you know, people, the family that want to support me are just like, hey, just stop this for now and go do this and you'll always have it. I think that always makes me feel like I'm turning my back on this thing, which, mm-hmm. you know, I'm not to say that they're wrong, just to say that like that always made me feel like, no, I want to do this.
Yeah.
This is like if you take it away from me now, I'll realize I want it.
Yeah. When I was about like 15, 16, my parents had put me into voice lessons, like singing lessons when I was a little kid, because my mom learned that if boys sing through the break in their voice, then it smooths out the break. So you get less like voice cracking, a little less like, here's your taco, sir. You know, it's just like, so she was like, I'm gonna ease Doug's way through puberty. In a small town that was a hockey town in Alberta, where they eventually, of course, all found out that I was taking singing lessons, which made my puberty so much worse than if my voice had been cracking like everybody else's. And so I was like kind of a little shit about it and like didn't practice, like just wanted to play hockey without, you know, any real objective understanding of the fact that I wasn't particularly great at it. Mm-hmm. And then my voice teacher was like, okay, cool, f it, I'm not going to keep teaching you. And I was just like,
Oh, that made you.
And then like I spent the next 3 years working with other voice teachers, like desperately trying to prove, like to get back to like, I'm good enough. I started doing shows, and eventually my original voice teacher, Charlene Brown, shout out, she saw me in a show and was like, you've clearly worked really hard. I'll happily take you back if you want to. And I was like, yes, all of this has been for this.
You went back. You were like, no, this is right.
Yeah. And then I went to New York like a year and a half later or something. Like it was, wow. Yeah. And but it's like, I get that, like, it's like a little bit of edge, I think, that exists within me that like can be super useful and has been at times in my life quite damaging, but like, I'm going to do this because f you, that's why. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, I don't know if it's super useful in interpersonal relationships, but in pursuit of this, I think has served me.
Yeah, I always tend to think that like, I'm pretty stubborn about this thing. And sometimes I'm like, that's my superpower. Yeah. Is the stubbornness to be like, I'm still going to enjoy it. Obviously, I got to, you know, take care of myself and, you know, make a living when the times are, you know, when things are less busy. But that stubbornness is, yeah, it can do damage in some situations. But I feel like with this, it's kind of, I've grown to appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. So you started doing some commercial stuff. You were like, boats, that's what's for me. Boats and paychecks.
I wouldn't want to be on a boat. I don't know.
Yeah.
A boat. But I'd like to pretend to be on a boat. I was on a
Yeah,
boat
exactly,
on Man.
right.
That was green screen. I was fine with that.
Nice. And then you found yourself on Degrassi.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that all happened. The Degrassi folks are going to want to know.
Yeah, okay.
Hashtag
I was playing outside. It was those days where, like, you know, my mom would walk out to the back door and just shout my name, and I was somewhere in the neighborhood, and she would just wait. Oh, Dalmar, you have a phone call. I was like, what? Let's run home and take a phone call with, I'm like, my memory is not like, you know, when you think you remember something, it's just the story you've been telling yourself, but like, I think it was wardrobe people telling me like, when are you free for a fitting? And I don't think I understood what that meant. So I was like, yeah, Mom helped me organize all that. So I was 13 years old when I got onto Degrassi. I got onto Degrassi before I got into real high school.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So when I remember that, so that was pretty wild. I was the age, I guess, of the character. Supposed to be another, I think it was I had auditioned for a role and the character was white, I think. I think Jamie Johnston ended up getting that part. Okay. We all became friends. And
you're just like, Jamie Johnson got that part.
I hate him. No. I love him. So anyways, I think that's the part that I auditioned for. And then someone saw me, was like, cool, let's have his hair on the show. And I mean, obviously I didn't know what was going on. So I was like, yeah, let's do this show. And I didn't watch Degrassi at the time either. So I remember people when I was telling people I'm like an actor, they're like, what if you got on Degrassi? And I was like, what if I knew what that was? And and so it was everything I had dreamed a set would be like. I remember my first days there. That's what taught me what, you know, a director, who's the director, who are the producers, who are the writers, who are everybody on set, who are, you know what I mean? The camera people, the grips, all this stuff. I was meeting people before I knew what the roles were.
Right.
And so I was just like, this is, you know, this is John, this is, you know, like one of the guys on Degrassi, Fish was his name. I was like, okay, cool. Like that was his nickname. So I was like, I was meeting all these people and also trying to grow up also. Like being on Degrassi sometimes is like having what are the albums? You know when you look at photos in high school and you're like, that was me? Oof.
Oh yeah,
but that's on TV.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of those growing pains, which is what you want for a show like that. And so, but anyways, I loved like being on set. I remember like I was done and I was like, I'm gonna go and explore the set for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't mind. Truly, it was like a magical time, and I met my best friends to this day.
Right.
Are on the show. I grew up on the show. I'm super grateful for it. It really taught me what, you know, being on a set is, what sort of like gave me an idea of what this job was like, gave me my sort of a bit of my hustle, because on a show like that, I think one of my things is unfortunately like comparing myself to other people and being like, how come I don't do this, or how come I don't have that? And, you know, as much as that gave me a bit of grief, I think it ultimately gave me like, it reminded me what my drive was like. I want to be there, so I'm going to do the work.
Right.
Sort of that kind of how it kind of processed in me over the years.
Yeah, I find that concept like I think about the idea, the comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
Thing a lot.
Definitely.
And it's like, on one hand, true. Like nothing will make you not like your life more than comparing your life to somebody else's. And joy isn't always the purpose of a moment. Like a period in time in your life can be profoundly steeped in growth, because you're like, this person is capable of this and I'm not, and I need to figure out how to fucking do that. And I think that that's where we can get into this like trap as actors. One, that we live in a nonstop state of comparison, in which case we never find happiness. And that's damaging. Like that isn't particularly motivating to better oneself. But I think that there's something about being cognizant of there are others who are capable of doing things at this stage that I'm not, and I gotta work to get there. That can be super motivating and very useful, but then can also fuck you up later in life. But I don't know, everything does.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was experiencing on that show, because I was around a lot of, actors who had been doing it for even like since they were like kids.
Yeah, it's
like,
so funny.
I was 11, and there's people that have been working for 6 years looking at me like, "Hey, move on to your mark," and I'm like, your name is Mark? Like I was like, "It's cool.
Good to meet you."
Yeah. Like it was wild. It was great. It was a wonderful experience, and 13 years old until I was 19. And like you say, like that comparison thing, even throughout it, and definitely towards the end, realizing like, hey, this is coming to an end. This thing that I've been doing every summer, hanging out with my friends, going on set, growing up together, both on and off, camera and stuff. That made me realize like, if this is what this job is, then I want to do it forever. Like I love this. Obviously it's not, but I still appreciate the work and what I do. But it was enough for me to be like, okay, I realized even at the time that I was like, I'm lucky to be working. I think that there were times because there was like a strike, the writer's strike around that time too.
Yeah.
And so it was like only a few shows were going on, and it was like an immense privilege, an immense like opportunity, the reach of the show. I would meet people that were like, your character makes me feel like I exist in the world, because no one ever said that to me. Let me just be clear. I just mean that when people would see someone that looked like me on camera, they'd be like, hey, you're on the show. I feel like I'm seen because of that. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And then there were people that had, storylines that were super moving and relevant, and people who felt like they could, process serious things in their life because of the show. I was like, wow, I didn't know that it's having all this impact, and we're doing our best. You know what I mean? I think that I've always kind of given my best, my max when I was on set doing Degrassi, and to know that it was having that kind of an impact, it's nice. Like it's wild. Like I was 13, 14, showing up into real high school. People were like, you're on that show, and all of a sudden, like all the eyeballs were on me. I remember going to the States when I was 13, and it was I don't know if it was a bigger deal, but just that like there was just more people there, I think, and so people were like, I got swarmed for being like in one scene on Degrassi like the night before. I was like, wow, this is getting all this love is amazing.
Yeah. Like if you're
awesome.
Seeking validation.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, this is pretty wild, man. Somehow my mom made me understand that like work ethic was good. So, around that time, I definitely was a very disciplined and hardworking, kid. So, I just carried that through my high school years and beyond.
So, how did the transition out of that work? Like once the show was over, it's interesting because we've had like some folks from Degrassi like on this pod, and obviously I've worked with a ton of like the kids who were on that show. Yeah. I never got on it myself.
Crazy.
But it's all right. And it's like it's hard enough dealing with graduating high school. Like when I graduated high school, I wrote my last final exam, and then 18 hours later, I was wheels down on LaGuardia going to school in New York City. I was like, fuck it, we ball. Like I was like, so I had no transition. I was just like, I'm going. And, but I find it fascinating, like you guys that came off of a show, like you're like double dipping the life change, because you're losing this job and you're losing high school. And now you're like out in the world, which is hard enough as just a teenager going to college or like going into the workforce. But then there's also like you've been employed as an actor for your entire youth, and now you're like, hey, welcome to the world of the unemployed. Like so tell me, how did that go?
I thought that there would be people waiting with a table and a red carpet.
Dude, I
like,
thought
welcome to the next stage.
Yeah.
And I would be like, cool, I'll have, it was not that.
It's like an indie feature followed by a superhero franchise.
Yeah. I think that just the pace of like trying to do university and.
Where'd you go?
I went to U of T. It was tough. I was enjoying it because I was really into science in high school. So I was like, let me continue that into university. So I was trying to do a full-time life science program while also trying to go all the way with my, acting classes and career. That was when I had made that choice. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to this thing and school. And that was too much for me. So I stopped school. But for those 2 years that I was in it, like, I didn't even notice that, like, Degrassi was kind of getting further and further in the rearview mirror.
Right.
So it wasn't until I finally was like, okay, I'm going to stop school. Let's see what the career has for me. And that was when it kind of hit me. I was like, oh, there's no real opportunities right now.
Were you auditioning through college or university? Sorry.
Not that much. I want to say like 1, 2, 3, 4 years after from finishing Degrassi until getting like, it was like not, sort of starting over again. Like I was getting like, I when I finally booked my first thing, it was like, one scene on Flashpoint
right
after Degrassi, and it was like, okay, you're gonna make a name for yourself, and all this stuff. I was like, yeah, but I've done this stuff. Where does that count for something? And so it was definitely, how do I explain it? Like sobering, like just a realization that like you gotta work. Do you love this thing? And just keep finding joy in it. That's kind of what carried me through those 4 years, I want to say. I did a lot of stuff. I was doing school. I tried to start a band.
I saw this. I was like, ChatGPT told me this about you.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I didn't know you was in a band. You played bass.
That's okay.
Look at you.
Yeah, I did.
That's
well,
cool.
because it happened on the show, on Degrassi. We were like, we had a band on the show, and then the actual guys, we were like, you want to make a real band? And everybody was like, yeah, I'm free.
Are you kidding? We're all employed.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. That was a lot of fun. That was great. It was a really good time. With some of my best friends, we were in that band and still keep in touch today because we would later do many ventures together.
Right.
Just kind of always coming back to those people that and that familiarity. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It was tough to like transition from Degrassi and the experience of like being employed and working and that consistency to like suddenly, I don't know what's happening. So I put all my energies into going to classes. I think it was like the year I graduated Degrassi that I discovered that you were teaching a class because you were teaching my best friend.
Who was I teaching? Ray. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I remember coming to your class and I remember seeing you.
Is he doing all right?
He's doing great.
Great.
He's doing awesome. Yeah. And yeah, I remember, that was a time when I was like, okay, so these acting classes, what's out there? Who are the actors in the city? Who are people training with?
Yeah.
I really got into that for those years. And I really had this
hard
chip on my shoulder because I never went to theater school. I never went to any kind of arts program. Being on Degrassi made me realize that like some of the actors were all in art schools as well.
Yeah, there were a lot of them.
So they had this like understanding, this deep understanding. They had people in their families that like had been in the industry before, before them. So I constantly felt like I knew sort of the least about it, but I was like, okay, well, what I don't have in maybe that, like my perceived, like, everything, or I just was like, I'm gonna put it into my drive to learn something. I think that's what made me realize, like, really open to what does someone else have to share with me.
I mean, that's a very, like, listen, when you get done a show and things dry up, it's like, heroin or the path that you chose. And I think you chose the healthier one, man. Like that's because you were very dedicated to training, at least in the time that I've known you. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like, you're still in class a lot.
Yeah.
Like you're like constantly kind of like in that world, which is great.
Yeah, these days I'm still in class. I am trying to give myself a little bit of grace because there was definitely a time where I was like all the classes, Monday this, Tuesday that, Wednesday that. And if I'm not taking a class, shame on me.
Sure.
I think I have some, giving myself some space to do with all of that, but because I want to keep enjoying the process.
Yeah.
And so when I was really going into all these classes, trying to learn everything I could, I think I was starting to like, it just took a toll, It's hard for me to like just constantly be outputting, and not I don't know, recharging. And so I feel like for the last couple of years, I've really been trying to look inward and trying to do as much growing as I can, but without relying on like, it's got to be this class, it's got to be this class, if that makes sense. Like I was always trying to find the teacher that everyone's talking about, the teacher that nobody knows yet.
Right.
All this stuff was like, which was, it has value, but it's like, I think I'm realizing that like the value is going to come from like obviously my enjoyment, I think, is what I need to, is what's been lacking throughout that period. Was like, I was like, bypass everything, you know, don't worry how you feel, don't worry about, you know, what people say, don't worry about how tired you are, just keep doing it. And I think that now I'm kind of like, no, I'm taking some time for me, and I'm doing classes that make me feel good. And so yeah, those are the classes that I'm doing right now. I feel like there was a time where I was like, hurry, and now I'm not hurrying as much, but I still want to learn.
Right.
Yeah, I still want to learn is what kind of motivates me to you know, with any kind of new experience of learning.
There's because you're what, 35 now?
Yeah, turning 35 next week.
All right.
Birthday.
Look at me doing math. There's I think a point that actors tend to hit around this time, like, and I mean every actor, too, like including like Leonardo DiCaprio, you know, where it's like, I think when you're in your early 20s through 20s, sometimes even into your 30s, the amount of knowledge that you have about the craft vastly outweighs the amount of knowledge that you have about yourself. And both have tremendous value. But there's like, if we are like a liquid, we reach a point of equilibrium where it's like, there's more of one kind of liquid, there's more knowledge, and so I have to lean on that, and that's where I find joy, and that's where I find my motivation. I got to pursue that knowledge, but at a certain point, it's like you become more full of you, and it's like that actually starts to outweigh the knowledge, like the value. And I feel as though there's often this point where actors are stuck in the middle, and it's like they have to choose, okay, I'm reaching a point of diminishing returns on the knowledge, and I need to start diving into the self, because I know how to act. Like, I'm not saying like that you're, you know, like, everyone, listen, we're all just watching Daniel Day-Lewis and being like, wow, not as good as that guy, fuck. We're like watching Meryl Streep being like, I don't think that I don't know. You clearly know shit that I don't.
Yep.
But at a certain point, you have to be willing to flow into self, and then explore that, and then you may learn some new like technique, and that it's knowledge time. And
it can increase it. Yeah.
And I think the fluidity between knowledge and self as like equal value. And I think actors, myself included, often have a hard time with that transition, because I think I put so much value on the knowledge, and I put so little value on myself. Yeah. That the choice to be like, I need to choose myself here and build that and grow that, requires, like, that's predicated on a belief that I have value. And I think a lot of actors have a hard time with that. Or that I may in fact have more value than what I've been taught.
Yeah, that's a tough thing.
Which is wild. But it's cool to see you deciding like, all right, well, the pursuit of knowledge maybe is reaching that point of diminishing returns to a degree, and I need to pick the things that are lighting me up, that are causing me to grow as a person. I think that's very healthy.
Yeah, that definitely happened happening
right
organically, you know, not without its like doubts in my head, like, hey, you got to be in class, you got to be doing a million things that are, you know, otherwise you're going to be, you know, where are you going to be? You know, if things stop moving, it's because you're not taking class. These are the thoughts that kind of, you know, will concern me and will sometimes push me to do something that I don't really need to do, because I'm trying to kind of grow myself and find patience for myself and be like, okay, it's all right. You're gonna figure stuff out, and because I think a lot of, you know, this career has made me very willing to do what I think others, you know, want me to do, or what I think I should be doing. I live in a lot of that shoulds because of this career of like, you do this, you do this, you do this, you say yes. And now it's like, I'm trying to understand what I want, like who, you know, what is important to me when I don't have, you know, like a lot of what I was doing in the classes was like not having to think about those things, and yet I was still getting better. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I think it's funny, I literally wrote a newsletter about this morning, but I think to quote myself, nice. I think should is the most dangerous word in the English language for actors. that idea of like, but also just like for humans in general, right? Like Greek mythology is literally just like gods and titans being like, I think we're gonna with the fates, and the fates being like, you can't. This just is. And I get such an interesting, like actors are so interesting, because this idea of, well, if I'm not in class and the industry slows down for me, then that's because I'm not I'm not doing that. And I'm like, I think that if you're out in the ocean on a surfboard, I think the ocean's gonna ocean, like a wave is gonna come. Our concern has got to be, can I or can I not surf the fucking wave? Right? And that's a very different mentality, but so many actors waste a tremendous amount of bandwidth just like really hoping the ocean's gonna ocean.
Yeah.
And what a waste of fucking energy.
Thinking that they got to be somewhere for the wave.
Yeah, as opposed to just like, just hang out on the break, man. Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. Are you ready to do it? If not, go back to shore, learn some shit, do some push-ups, learn how to hold your fucking breath, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Right? But like,
yeah.
But like specificity of focus removed from ego. Like, where is my time and energy actually best spent? As opposed to what gives me the illusion of control, because it's always an illusion.
Yeah, that's true. And when things are out of control, that's, yeah, I just had a day like that yesterday where like everything just went out of control and I was like, what? What? I thought I was past this. It's like, no, I just believed that I had control over things, but things can go, it just makes me grateful for the peace I've had.
Yeah. One of my best friends in the middle of COVID, so he's a chef, he's an executive chef here in town, opened a bunch of restaurants, like height of his game. COVID hits, restaurants become illegal, and he's like, I'm gonna go to Calgary, worked in just became like a line cook in the oil fields, and then was like, I'm gonna go to SAIT, get into supply chain management, exercise some control over his life, gets hit by a fucking SUV while he's crossing the street. Traumatic brain injury, like next few years of his life completely and totally determined by that. And now but just like that illusion of control. And the more that I work with actors, the more that I work on myself, the more I talk about like the creative process. Bless this podcast, Cotton Socks. It has, I think, caused me to attempt to think deeper. The more I think that the pursuit of control is such a waste of energy. Because the only thing we can really, and this is not like Marcus Aurelius was talking about this, and Seneca before him, and Plato and Aristotle, all these people. It's like, it's not new. Buddha, but it's like, we don't have it. The only thing we have control of is ourselves and how we respond to things. And it makes sense that like actors get so caught up in, are the opportunities going to come? Are the opportunities going to come? It's like, well, if we deconstruct that and we actually ask the question, like, are you devoting time and energy to anything else? Well, no. Okay. So why on earth why would the infrastructure of your life be capable of providing you with anything else, other than this opportunity? Like, it's not even about like manifestation, like universe giving you what you want. It's just like, I don't know, all I do is acting stuff. It would stand to reason that acting stuff will happen. Because like a law degree won't. No one's gonna be like, here, you're a lawyer now. It's like, how? Why?
You've waited long enough.
My choices did not point in this direction. I don't know how to do this. Right? Like, I find it so fascinating, and I love talking with actors who are like at the stage that you're at, where you're so good at it, and still control is this thing that we desperately want.
We worry about it. Like it takes up a lot of my my headspace. Is something going to happen? Is it going to be today? You know what I mean? I with each each passing day, I'm growing aware of it, and I'm finding, I'm growing in my life, and I'm living, and I'm grateful for it. But it is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still in my mind. Like, where's the opportunities? What's happened this year versus what's happened last year?
Yeah.
Versus where are other people?
Yes. I think that's also a symptom of giving a shit, like really caring about something. I think that's a blessing and a curse. Like, there's a lot of people that through life, the only things that they end up really caring about are things like family. Like, those things are much more in your control, whereas ours is a carrot that continues to always get further and further ahead of us. What's lighting you up creatively now? Like what's causing Dal to wake up and be like, let's do this life. Let's put myself into this gauntlet.
Creatively, I haven't been watching a lot of stuff. I haven't been reading a lot of stuff. I've been going to plays, which always is like, I'm grateful that I can do that sometimes and just see who's out there and be moved, because that always happens. I think that what is lighting me up is trying to, find other hobbies and like, just, I've introduced a bit more structure in my life lately, which is nice. And I think that I'm hopeful that like I can find a balance where I can, take my foot off of the gas towards the structure and take a second for creative, my creative side, because I feel like right now I haven't been putting too much attention into it. I'm trying to, I've started going to the gym. I've, started finding activities that I haven't done before, trying new things. All those things I think are essential for me for somewhere in my system I can just kind of take a breath and exhale. Mm-hmm. And then I can go do the creative stuff, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like I've always been someone who like, it could be a bit of an excuse, but like sometimes I'm like, oh, if I'm on a show, then I want to write something.
Right.
But if I'm not, then I don't know how to, it's like I'm focused on trying to make, my ends meet and try to take care of all my things and point my attention towards like being ready if some opportunity does come along. I think that like once those things are in check, then I can move to the next level. And so as far as like creativity right now, I think just watching people, hearing their stories. If I'm reading, like there's books that are on my list that I haven't gotten to yet. I'm sure that when I have the time to like sit down and take them in, I'll be inspired in some way.
Like what?
Well, right now I'm reading like a book. It's kind of a dense book, but it's called The Social Safety Net.
Okay.
It's just talking about like, I guess I'm aware of like, I've taken an interest in like politics and like
cool
what's going on in our city and how can we make it better? Those kinds of things are kind of interesting to me right now. Mm-hmm. TV shows, TV is usually my thing. Like I'll always have like a show that I'm watching, but like right now, like I just, as I said, like I got a bit more structure with my day to day. I've got things going on that keep me busy in that sense. And I think when I'm able to, find a little bit of balance, because I know that I'm not going to keep going this way that I'm doing right now. I think I'm going to, I don't know where the creativity will come. I think for now, just enjoying and relaxing is kind of what is good for me.
Great. Yeah. There's something about, like, sometimes I wonder, like, are there people in the world that don't need to be like told that you can just live your life? Like, does that exist?
People that need to be told that they can just live their life?
Yeah. What you're describing is like giving yourself permission to like, and just be Dal.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of weird that we like don't think we should? Like
it feels,
I say we because like I same dude, same, right?
Yeah, it can feel wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm into this like, just like what do I want right now? One of my acting teachers told me that a long time ago. Like, what do you want now? Try to think about those things and keeping it simple, because when I get into my head, I can go like into like a year from now.
Right.
Into 5 years from now, into like what I did wrong or what I should have done last week. Mm-hmm. But that all takes me further and further away from like, how am I doing right now? What do I want right now? This illusion of control, man. Like, if something, it could all kind of just change, and then I'll think like, man, I was not worrying about the right things. You know what I'm saying? If something were to go. Yeah,
there's I don't know if like there's this theory right now that like the only like you believe what you believe or you believe is because of the podcast that you're listening to, which is like I don't know, kind of true. Like we're all just kind of rehashing the beliefs of others. But the Chris Williamson on the Modern Wisdom podcast, he has this thing that has really stuck with me, which is just like all your worries are a waste of time. Like one sentence, all your worries are a waste of time. Anything that I've ever worried would come to pass. Like two things have happened. One, it didn't. Also, all of those minutes worrying just got me that many minutes closer to death, which is fucking great when you think about it. And then, or they did come to pass. And I've never, when the bad shit happens, I've never been like, man, am I glad I spent all that time worrying about this. I am so prepared to deal with it. It's never fucking happened. Like worrying isn't
You weren't
preparation.
any better off for it.
No,
Yeah.
like, you know, like worrying is fascinating. It's like I can have the worry that, one day a tree might fall on me. But like worrying isn't bench press. Worrying doesn't get the fucking tree off of me. Like the gym does, action does. I don't know. I don't know. Like I'm trying to get better at it. I don't think I'm good at it yet.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like
just like
trying to be like, if I'm worried about something, is there something I could fucking do right now? And like oftentimes the answer to that is yes. It just usually requires more discipline and fucking structure, and that sometimes sucks.
Yeah,
because sometimes I just don't want to.
You just don't want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like setting all that stuff up. I've already done a lot of other stuff today.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
What is the most recent project that you've worked on? Like what's
most recent project that I worked on is an indie film.
Great.
And it was an indie film where I got to, I guess, tap into like a side of my heritage that I've rarely had the opportunity to do. Like whenever I audition for stuff, it's like, you know, you're the black. Sometimes it's like any open ethnicity.
Right.
But anytime I've ever been like cast for being black, it's never been like
cast for being black. As though there
Cast
aren't
for
any.
being-
You're like, there's no other black actors. That was the reason.
That was the reason. You couldn't find any. So I told them I'd help them out.
Denzel just like didn't want it.
Yeah, exactly. This is a
God forbid you're good at acting. You
Oh,
know,
and
that could be a reason. Yeah.
and it'll look good. Don't worry. That's the bonus I always throw in. But like this is a movie where it's like a Somali character, and that's part of my heritage. You know, I didn't grow up with my dad, but I am Sudanese and Somali.
Cool.
And I've only had the opportunity to play Somali twice in, you know, over 20 years of like doing roles and things like that. And so this was when this opportunity came along, I was like, yeah, I'd love to be part of this story. Listen, I'm not Somali, like I didn't grow up with my dad, so that side of my heritage is not, you know, something that I'm familiar with, that I grew up with, but I would love to do this. Can it still work? And I had conversations with the director, and he was like, yes, this is why it can work. And so I got to be part of telling this story that the director had been living with for about 10 years. You know, it's a Romeo and Juliet story set in the Somali community in Toronto.
Okay.
And we shot it last summer, and it was a wonderful experience. I got to meet people this was their first film, you know, first experience on a set.
Yeah.
So it brought me back to like my early days. And
Yeah, I always love that.
yeah, it's so cool to see that, you know, just to be around them and to see how they approach it, and to feel like, yeah, I totally had experiences like that. I think when I first started, like, I always felt like there was no one kind of coming at it from, you know, in a way that like I could understand or recognize. Like, you know, I guess because I just didn't know, it was like a lot of things were new to me. So I was like, I just feel like, you know, for a while on Degrassi even, I felt like this, how come no one is sort of like me? Like, how come I feel like I'm, you know, a little bit on the outside or something? And it was hard to explain, put my finger on it, but it was when like I met my best friends later on Degrassi that I was like, oh, okay, now you're someone that I understand what you're talking about. I understand how you grew up.
Right.
And that's kind of a bit of what I experienced on this set. You know, just a story that I'm glad is being told. I'm proud of like the effort it took to get to this point. I'm proud of like all the people, you know, getting to tell a story that they grew up with and being the storytellers themselves. This is like, I'm talking about the other actors in the film. So that was the last project that I did, and it's going to premiere soon at the Real World Festival.
Great.
And
what's the name of the film?
It's called A Tribe Called Love.
Tribe Called Love.
Yeah.
Good name.
Yeah, man. It
name.
was a lot of fun to shoot, and finally we're about to see it for the first time, and you know, we're gonna see it with all the cast and the crew in a few days, and I'm just proud. I'm proud to tell a story like that, and to be able to approach a character in a way that, I don't know, I feel like it's like when you get to play a character that grew up in a similar, you know, conditions to you in some senses, it speaks to me in a way that is like, like calming. It's like, oh, I don't have to like, I guess for a lot of my career, I've always had to play characters that are, you know, it's not really about where they're from or how they grew up. It's about what they're doing. And this one kind of made me think about, yeah, you know, myself and my heritage, my family. That's really cool, a cool experience. I've never had something like that so far.
Yeah, that's so interesting. The luxury of having a project that runs parallel to your experience, or like the worlds in which you were steeped in growing up.
That's it.
It's like I think most characters that I audition for the most part, I'm like, oh yeah, like I can this makes sense. Like this runs parallel with my life. But it is interesting having the perspective of like, oh, that's a luxury. It's just one that I've become extremely accustomed to.
I get it. No, it's like there's we've all got like luxuries we're accustomed to, and then we realize, you know, as time goes on, like this is nice to have.
And did you find walking parallel to that? Like, did you find that made your process easier, or did you find it?
In a way, it blurred the lines of like, how do I guess, I don't know, step into this character? What is this character feeling? And it just led to me being like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's this.
Yeah.
It's me. It's, you know, which was really, really nice.
Like an instinctive knowing?
An instinctive knowing that kind of just matched up in a way. It reminds me a little bit of Degrassi because the characters were always inspired on the actors themselves. Like you get cast and then the writers would try to get to know you, and then to the point where it blurred the lines, and so you were like, I don't really know, there's no character here, it's just me doing this thing on camera. And so, except that with this story here, there's like obviously a specific, you know, this character lived with the director for I think 10 years before, you know, he's finally getting the chance to like, had the chance to make the movie. And then the process of like post-production, I'm just like, man, what a hard thing making a feature film.
It's like the average development time from script to picture is 6 years. Like if it ever gets made, like it's just like the amount of fucking energy and effort that goes into getting a movie made is insane. Like I got a project right now that I co-wrote that's like under option, very possibly going to go in the next few months, and wrote it like 10 years ago. And it's just like, and I thought the project was dead, and then all of a sudden the industry tweaks, and it's like, oh, they're looking for your thing. They're looking for your thing. There's a spot for that. And it's just like, what the fuck, where was this?
That's why.
Do you have any idea how long I was broke? Like, could have really used it. Like, really?
And then you would have to like update it and bring it into like,
But it was interesting with this one, we didn't even have to like tweak it that much, which was kind of wild.
Wow.
Like, that's very, very weird. But
those little gifts.
Yeah, he says now, but like, watch, we'll get into production. The like, entire third act needs to be rewritten. But yeah, I'm glad that you had that experience. That's super cool.
Yeah. Just like one of those things. I'm glad I said yes to it. You know, the experience from like day one to the end, I was like, yeah, this is a gift. This is a gift. You know what I mean? That I got to do this with this group of people, and I just keep. There's always something to learn. There's always something to experience, and I was on the fence about doing it, and in the end, I was like, no, this story is important to me. This is going to be a good experience, and I'm glad I did.
Do you mind me asking why you were on the fence? You don't have to answer that if it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I guess I was like unsure that it was going to, you know, move me in the right direction in terms of like my career. Like, is this what I'm trying to go for right now?
Right.
Is this the, you know what I mean? Is this the character that I want to do? And it's just, it all goes into like the decisions of like what makes me into a project or why I'm not into it, and you know, trying to also listen to the people around me, like team, friends, like, you know, what do you think about this project? I wasn't sure, you know, I didn't know the team too well, and so I was like, you know, what do I know about this team? And in the end, like, now of course we know each other, and now I'm glad that the reason I ended up saying yes was like, this is just too important of a story, I feel like, that I want to let it pass me.
Right.
You know, so I was like, let's do it. And you know, once I made that decision, the rest was all, just kind of fell into place. It was easy to go through. But at that time when I wasn't sure, I was like, what if this goes wrong? What if this goes wrong? What if this doesn't work?
Right.
And in the end, it was like, no, it was good. So
how much of like right now in the stage of your career, like thinking about, is this the right story for me? Mm-hmm. Right? Like it's funny because, I would imagine that there are a lot of like beginner level actors who are like listening to this podcast, just trying to get rep, just trying to get a shot. Like when I put out a bunch of like stuff onto the YouTube channel, acting advice, and a lot of the questions that I get via DMs are like, how do I, like, thank you for teaching me this thing, but how do I audition? How do I get a shot? And so I'm sure like a lot of those, if I think back to like early 20s Doug, being like, you were thinking about turning something down? Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Yeah.
So talk to me about like what makes something you want to do? Like what are you looking for right now? That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, like I guess this made me realize like telling a story that means something to me on a, not that whatever I regularly say yes to doesn't hit me in this way, but like this had layers as far as like being a story set in Toronto, being a story touching my heritage, being a story where I was gonna have the opportunity to collaborate with the filmmakers in a more meaningful way, where I could share my opinion about what I thought was going on at the scene and what was going on with the stories, mm-hmm. and also just get to really use my voice while telling the movie. I've never done that before, so that was a kind of something I discovered after saying yes. I was like, oh, this is great. You guys want to hear what I have to say about this? Right. Cool. Here, how about this?
Like becoming a true collaborator.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's such an arrival point for actors. Like it's not like it's an industry full of arrival points. Like you just move forward and you move forward and you move forward. You get to the top of one thing and you realize that there's another mountain that's way bigger that's right after it. Yeah. And then at the very top of the top one is Leonardo DiCaprio, and that's it. Everybody else is just falling off that one. And but that like that moment of, oh, I've got a say here. Like that to me has been my favorite thing about mm-hmm. indies. Mm-hmm. Like I've done a bunch of indies, and I'm like super good at convincing myself that like I've never been a lead in anything, and then I like realize I have a bunch of like independent films that I've done where I've been a lead in them, and I'm just like, well, Doug, man, when is enough? Like, but that moment on set where you're like, oh, my opinion is as valuable to this creative process as the cinematographer, the director, the writer, like it's just like I'm like, and everyone is expecting collaboration, not just like, because that's not the case when you're like an actor role or a principal role or you're a guest star. You're just coming in to like solve a problem for the production and off.
I had that experience recently where it was like I realized I was like, hey, so I was on a show and I was like, hey, so this. I'm not like, he's not actually trying to do this, right? That would be wild. And the director was like, absolutely, he's trying to do this.
Yeah.
This is what the point of it is. And I was like, there's no discussion to be had here. I see. This is what okay. Yeah. Okay. I was like, dang, that's a reminder.
It's like I call it do the thing acting.
Yeah. It's do like, the thing. I was like, that's okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's a great story Shia LaBeouf talks about. He's like, I was in the middle of the desert, like the Mojave Desert, shooting Transformers '87, and they're like, you gotta run through this thing, and then that's it. We're gonna call cut. And he's like, what? It's like, run as fast as you can and be upset about it. And then he's like, but what is my motivation here? And Michael Bay's just like, there's gonna be fucking robots. Run, Shy. And then, of course, you watch it back, and it's like Megatron, Ultra. Everybody's jumping around him, and Shia LaBeouf is just running. Yeah. But he's just having an existential crisis, and then like becoming a hardcore drug addict and alcoholic. Like, like in his personal life, it's just like it's fucking wild. That's like to me, it's just like there are those days. Like there's way more in my experience. There's way more days of like you got to just do the fucking thing because that's what's scripted. It's what the fates have deigned is happening. So yeah, you got to. Mm-hmm, whether it makes sense or doesn't is pretty inconsequential. It's like space wizards don't make sense objectively, and yet Star Wars.
It's part of the collaboration. If you can't, I tell myself I can't see the full picture.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna trust.
Yeah, and it's wild because sometimes the full picture is just like everybody gets a paycheck on this thing from top to bottom, And but those times where you get to like I have found those times where I really get to be like, all right, we're in it together.
Yeah.
Like an indie film as a producer and as an actor, like you're in trenches, like you're in it, right? And you don't get through each other's foxholes without each other's help. Like it just there's those movies are not made in a vacuum.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you've had that experience.
Yeah, that was a first for me. So when and I think it was the pandemic time that I started to, I don't know what you call it, but like had a realization that like I want to be more selective about the roles that I say yes to.
Cool.
Because I guess I start to ask like who's involved, what is the process going to be like in terms of like, not that I want to be able to collaborate on every project that I'm a part of, but like, am I going to be made to feel like I am, like we were just discussing, like do the thing? Is that what this whole job is going to be like every day? Then if it's not a story that means something to me, I don't know if I want to put myself through that. I want to be able to show up and be proud of what I'm doing and feel like my voice is welcomed. And, if I'm going to say yes to something, I also don't want to be, sometimes I think like maybe I'm a bit petty. And so if that's the case, I don't want to be showing up somewhere and that be how I'm, that being how I'm coming across, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So then I'll even say I'll pull myself out of that so that I don't, you know what I mean? So I don't show up that way.
Yeah.
Because I have to be into the project, I have to be into the people. I start to think about it that way. Like, what's it going to take for me to be able to deliver my best when I'm there? And if that means like saying thank you, but this is not the right one, I'll say that. And when I was when the pandemic was happening, I remember I had said yes to a play, and I remember I couldn't put my finger on why it wasn't going to work for me, and it ended up being because, like, as far as the story and how I fit into the story, I didn't feel like they had considered my identity in the story, and that I was going to have to be the one to explain why I'm there. I was going to have to be the one that, whether that's through creating a backstory or figuring out like how that came to be, whether, people, and if anyone had any questions, they were going to be directed towards me. I was like, that's almost another job separately from the work that I would be doing. And so I was like, I appreciate this opportunity, absolutely, but this is not the project for me because of these reasons.
Right.
Like someone can do it, but just for me, like that's what I was having a hard time communicating, because in my head I was like still in that mode of like, say yes to everything. Who knows when the next job is going to be? They've just given you this and you're going to say no. And I'm glad that I trusted it and explained myself, and the director was very receptive towards it. They were like, absolutely, I totally understand that. And, that was, I think, marked a turning point for me as far as like, okay, so, conversations is all. It's like, I don't say yes right away. I don't say no right away, but I just try to ask questions, because I realize, like, as actors, there's a lot that we don't know, because, I mean, putting a production together, making a movie, there's so many things involved for so long. And we're kind of like asked to show up, do our best, immerse ourselves completely into something. And I'm just starting to try to give a bit more attention to what it's going to take for me to do that. I can't just, just like I can't just do it like at the drop of a hat. I got to give myself the space and the time to think about those things and to consider it. And I enjoy it. I do enjoy like deciding whether or not something is I can say yes or no to something.
Yeah, I think it's an important lesson that appreciation and obligation are two very different things, right? That like something can come your way and you can be like, sick, don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they have to be in conflict with each other. And that does mean that like it's not like these things come without a cost, though. It's like you say no to something and it's like, okay, cool. Well, you're not engaging in the suffering of something, and you are potentially creating suffering, like in doubt, in lack of funds, and blah 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 blah, all these things. Right? But it's like choosing your suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that that's incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I tend to end these podcasts like just knowing we have to kind of bring this thing to land by asking, if you could go back in time and give one piece of advice to like just starting out Dal, either Degrassi Dal, who's like sees his cousin on a boat and a paycheck, or really getting into it as a young man Dal, the guy who the show is over. You can pick which one, but I'd love to know what piece of advice you would give yourself.
I think like when I was Degrassi Dal, I was having way too much fun. You know what I mean? Like the doubts just didn't have too much space because I was like, man, this is sick. I'll just sit on set for the rest of the day. You can find me tomorrow.
Yeah, it's possible that guy didn't actually need that much.
That guy was too.
He was doing all right.
That guy was.
He was doing all right.
He's doing all right. So maybe Dal after high school and kind of like wondering where what next. You know what I mean? Almost like expectations. And I guess I would say what we talked about today. Like you can control how you react to things, like probably also that comparison is the
thief of joy.
Thief of joy. Yeah. I would have liked to. I heard that a couple years ago, but I would have liked to hear it a couple years before that. Too.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's like I enjoy this thing and just just keep enjoying myself and just kind of hard to say, like you tell an overthinker don't think. That's tough to do, but I don't know how I would be able to word it in a way that I would consider it. I don't know, but those are the things. Comparison is a thief of joy. Now go enjoy the next couple years.
Yeah.
That's what I would have said if I could speak to myself.
Great. Great. I think that's really good advice. That's definitely good advice. I could have learned that a lot earlier. Would have been nice. Dal, I admire and appreciate you very much, and I think you're, not that you need positive validation, but I think you're a hell of an actor. And I'm excited to see what you do next.
Thank you, man.
I'm excited to see where you go.
Me too.
Sweet.
Me too, man. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah.
Look at us. Look how far we've come. We did it.
Hey,
Thanks, man. We'll have to... All right, that's the end of the podcast today. Thank you so much. If you're here at the end, you're one of the real ones. You made it all the way through. I hope you found it as beneficial as I did in chatting with Dal. If you're here and you haven't subscribed, please just do a little subscripto. Do a little turn on the notifications button, give us a 5-star if you're here on Spotify or Apple. These things really make a difference. If you really want to support the podcast, you can check out our Patreon. The Patreon, I have a bunch of online acting courses that teach everybody everything they need to know about how to craft a bookable audition from top to bottom, basically like an intro to on-camera acting class that is, if you're a part of our Patreon, it's just there for you. It's free. It's like 9 hours of video and all sorts of workbooks and all sorts of stuff. So check it out. Appreciate you very much for being here. You're great. And I hope that you feel great about yourself. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, go be people.